In the previous episode, Rome fell before Odoacer, the last emperor of the West, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed, ending over 1,000 years of Roman glory. This event marked the beginning of a new era, the Middle Ages. If you have not watched that episode yet, at the end of this video I will leave the link on the screen, as well as the full playlist in the description. Now, time travelers, prepare yourselves. Today we will witness the rise of Clovis I, the young king of the Salian Franks, and the fall of the last Roman strongholds in Gaul at the legendary Battle of Soissons. Welcome to the Fall of Thrones, where you explore epic medieval stories revealed through 3 unique perspectives that will change your view of the past. Historical setting: the year is 486 after Christ. 10 years have passed since the fall of the Western Roman Empire. In Gaul, part of the former Roman territory still resisted under the command of Syagrius, the last leader who called himself Roman governor. But to the north, a young man of only 15 assumes the throne of the Salian Franks. Clovis I, ambitious, strategic, and relentless. Clovis had a clear goal: to unite the Frankish tribes and conquer Gaul. But there was a problem. To achieve this goal, he would have to face Syagrius, the last Roman stronghold. Perspective 1. Clovis I. The young King Clovis assumed the throne after the death of his father, Childeric I, at just 15. He already commanded an army of fierce warriors, but leading was not enough. He needed to inspire. For the Franks, power was won through blood and glory, and Clovis knew it. His goal was ambitious: to unite the Franks under a single leader and expand his rule over Gaul. But Clovis did not fight alone. He formed alliances with other Germanic tribes, promising loot, land, and honor in exchange for loyalty. Upon learning that Syagrius ruled a rich territory and still controlled strategic cities, Clovis saw the perfect opportunity to consolidate his power. The fate was set. The Battle of Soissons was inevitable. Perspective to Syagrius. The last Roman Syagrius, son of Remigius, was the last to hold the title Rex Homoneron, king of the Romans. After the fall of Rome, he governed what remained of imperial power in northern Gaul, known as the domain of Soissons to Syagrius. The barbarians were dangerous and unpredictable enemies. He believed that the name of Rome still commanded respect, and that he could resist the advance of the Franks. However, Syagrius made a fatal mistake. He underestimated Clovis. In 486 after Christ, he gathered his Roman army to face the Franks on the battlefield, relying on the experience of his troops. But times had changed. The power of Rome no longer existed, and Clovis was about to prove it. Perspective 3. Remigius of Reims. The Church and destiny. As the armies prepared for war, another force was in motion: the Catholic Church. Bishop Remigius of Reims saw a unique opportunity in Clovis. If he could convert the young king, he could bring Christianity to the barbarian peoples and consolidate the Church's influence in Gaul. Remigius was not a warrior, but he understood politics like few others. He approached Clovis, offering advice and moral support, preparing the ground for a future alliance between crown and cross. On the battlefield, Remigius did not wield swords, but his role was decisive. Without him, Clovis's victory would not have had the same historical impact. The Battle of Soissons, the arrival of the conflict. The summer of 486 after Christ brought the decisive moment. On the plains of Soissons, 2 worlds were about to collide. On one side, Clovis I, young Frankish king, just over 20, leading an army of around 5,000 warriors hungry for glory. On the other, Syagrius, commander of the last Roman stronghold in Gaul, with 6,000 veteran soldiers, trying to keep Rome's honor alive. The terrain was open, perfect for the Frankish cavalry, but the natural fortifications of the valley gave the Romans some strategic advantage. Each leader knew that the outcome of that day would determine the fate of Gaul. The silence before the storm, before the first clash. A deadly silence fell over the field. Only the clinking of metal, the hooves of horses, and the wind cutting through the plain broke the quiet. Clovis observed the enemy, assessing the position of the Roman troops. Syagrius, with Rome's typical discipline, organized his lines, ordering every soldier to hold the shield formation, preparing for impact. The sun reflected on armor and shields, creating an almost supernatural gleam on the battlefield, foretelling what was to come. He first impacted. With a unison shout, Clovis ordered the advance. The Frankish cavalry and infantry charged at the Romans. The clash was deafening. Spear against shield, sword against armor, shield against shield. The Roman line held at first, using formations honed by centuries of imperial wars, but the pressure and intensity of the Frankish attack began to overwhelm Roman discipline. Dust rose, obscuring the sun, and the roar of the warriors seemed to echo through the centuries, as if history itself were being written by the force of steel. The turning point, Syagrius tried to reorganize the ranks, shouting orders to his officers and repositioning the soldiers. But Clovis had planned a decisive maneuver. His right wing flanked the Roman army, attacking the sides and causing panic among the imperial soldiers. The Roman formation began to collapse. Soldiers fell, shields broke. The old order crumbled before the youth and ferocity of the Franks. Clovis, on the front line, sword in hand, showed his men that victory was possible and that glory awaited them. The end of Syagrius and Rome in Gaul when Roman resistance became unsustainable. Syagrius fled towards the Visigothic territory, seeking refuge, but the Visigothic king Alaric II, fearing Clovis's strength, handed Syagrius over to the Franks. Imprisoned, Syagrius was executed, and with that, the last fragment of Roman power in Gaul vanished forever. The Franco-Salian victory not only consolidated Clovis's rule, but also paved the way for his future conversion to Christianity, the union of crown and church, and the beginning of a new era in Europe. Consequences of the victory. The victory at Soissons changed the history of Western Europe forever. Clovis was no longer just a young king. He became the undisputed leader of the Franks and one of the most influential figures of the Middle Ages. For the Church, it was a decisive moment. Remigius strengthened his influence, preparing the path for Clovis's conversion to Christianity, which would occur a decade later. And for Rome, the battle marked the end of an era. The last fragment of imperial power in Gaul had disappeared. Closing in next episode, the Battle of Soissons was more than a war. It was the birth of a new kingdom and the first step in the formation of the future medieval France. But this is only part of the story. In the next episode, we will witness a moment that would change the destiny of Christian Europe forever. The baptism of Clovis, the alliance between power and faith, and the emergence of a new medieval order. If you want to follow the true history of the Middle Ages, no fiction, no romanticization, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Which of the three perspectives impressed you the most? And remember, history is not about great men doing great things. It is about real people facing impossible choices. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us on this journey through the Middle Ages. Until next time, time travelers.